Boruto episode 80, Mitsuki's Friend. Now, of course, as you guys can tell, I have a different background this week. Obviously, this review is also like 3 weeks late or something like that. That's because I moved into my new apartment, so that is where we are currently. That's why I have the super crappy lighting. So yeah, that's why the reviews have just been so ridiculously late. It's either been me packing, me going to an anime convention. It was like the week before I moved, went to an anime convention. So it was just like a lot of stuff all at once, especially with Boruto not premiering on Thursdays anymore, which oddly enough, I never thought it would affect me that much. And it's like, crap, you know, you do all the important stuff that you can on the weekend. And it was like, dang, if it still premiered on Thursday, I would have been at least, you know, I'd have one extra review up already. I still would have been like, you know, way behind with everything I was doing. And maybe not even the week of the convention, I actually did go down there on that Thursday. So, you know, no matter what, I probably would still be, you know, behind this much. But episode 80, Mitsuki's Friend, definitely an interesting episode. Not much really happened as far as, you know, there wasn't really any action to it. It was Mitsuki and the one puppet character that kind of cares about him and stuff like that and is kind of cool with him a little bit. And so they're going through the process of Mitsuki talking with him and, you know, staying with him because the guy starts to basically fall apart, which we don't have an answer for. It's kind of just like this super weird time limit that just popped up out of nowhere. It was just like poof. It was like, oh crap, I'm sick now, and he starts cracking, and it's like, well, that was never once expressed, so it just kind of pops up out of nowhere. So he's injured. The one who does, I've not learned any of their names yet because they just don't matter. But you know, the guy with the long hair, he's like, all right, you know, you stay here, watch him. I'm gonna go get you help, and then I'll come back and, you know, we'll save you. So the whole episode is the two of them together, and it's just them kind of going back and forth, and then it's Mitsuki actually being busted for leaving that snake. Like, for once, this guy's like, you know, you kind of betrayed us. You know, you tricked us, and he puts the snake around Mitsuki's neck. And so he has to explain, like, you know, this is why I did that, and this is what's happening. And then they go through this process where, like, the first half of the episode is them kind of being buddy-buddy, and Mitsuki explaining stuff like, you know, yawning and going to sleep, which I knew that was going to come back. Like, as soon as they started looking at the sunset and they talk about all this stuff, it was like, man, you know, like, I feel so weak, like, I can't move. It was like, this must be what it's like to go to sleep. I was like, I knew they were going to put that line in there. It was so obvious. But, you know, they go through the process. Really nothing happens. It's really one of those weird episodes that's just like, they talk about some stuff that doesn't really mean that much, aside from, like, the very ending where, or I shouldn't say the very ending, but like the second half or like last 10 minutes or so is when it's a bigger deal, because they do have Mitsuki officially being exposed for what he did with leaving the snake behind and making it seem like he actually killed that guard when he really didn't. So I thought it was interesting. And then even after all that stuff is said and done, the guy decides like, oh, I'm not going to tell anybody. And I was like, well, that's really interesting, because why? You know, I'm just super curious. And it seems like he's kind of waiting to see if he can find a way to become more human, which I still wonder if that's what they're doing with this. Like, is that the main goal? And then they tease the fact that whoever is actually leading them, like their leader, is known by the Tsuchikage, unless I'm mixing episodes up. But with me being 2 or 3 weeks behind, I guess it doesn't matter to you guys. But I'm pretty sure it was in this episode where it is kind of revealed that the Tsuchikage actually knows who is attacking them. And it's like, all right, well, it's this weird thing. I think that is in the next episode, so sorry, but they don't say who it is. It's still just a mystery, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, not much really happens in this episode. It legitimately is just them in their one little location, and that's just about it. And they have their back and forth, and Mitsuki's teaching how to be human, even though technically he's not human and he's still learning himself, which admittedly is one of the best parts about this little arc, is him teaching someone else how to be human when he's still learning himself. I actually like that concept. Maybe they'll dive into it a bit more once they get into like the meat of why they need Mitsuki, which still has not been explained. It's just, if I remember right, they did reference like, oh, you know, we need you to basically become real. So I think that's where that's supposed to be headed, but who knows? You know, it is Boruto. It could just flip the script and then it just means nothing, and we just have to kind of wait and see what happens exactly. But decent episode. You know, like I said, not much really happened. I was excited when the guy like released the clay centipede around Mitsuki's neck, and I was like, oh, that kind of changes like a huge dynamic between these two characters, because he was the only one that trusted Mitsuki and was constantly being like, hey, lay off the kid and stuff like that. And then it switches up when he's like, you tricked us. Like, why are you here and what are you doing? So I liked the little bit of tension that they had there, and ultimately him letting Mitsuki go. so that they can kind of continue on their journey and just naturally see how things play out. I thought that was kind of cool. And then, of course, that leads into the next episode with Boruto, where he's kind of, within his own head as far as the memories and stuff like that. But decent little episode, not really too much to it, but we'll love to know what you guys thought about it. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Naturally, with this being, weeks and weeks late, you guys kind of know what's going on in the next 2 episodes. But as far as this one, I would love to know what you guys thought about the kind of shifting dynamic in the relationship between Mitsuki and the other character, and what you think that does mean kind of going forward into, I assume with the way they're doing it, we have to be, at this point, I would say we're in the second half of this arc, because now they've officially made it to the new land, and they've had the moment of like, oh, you betrayed us, but I'm still going to let you stick with us. And little revelations that, like I said, may or may not even have been in this episode, or at least teased in this episode. So I feel like we got to be like in the second half of this arc, and then we're finally going to start getting some answers. I at least hope so, because at this point, I'm still just like, what is happening? What's the big thing? They're focusing a lot on Boruto, but that's naturally because it's his show. And of course, they want to hold the mystery of like, why do they need Mitsuki? What's the point here? So they're holding off, giving us the answer based on mystery, but it's just like, all right, I don't know. I kind of just want things to speed up, because it's been, back and forth with the action, but I don't know. It's this weird thing with Boruto where I feel like everything is less consequential, and maybe that's just because of years of watching Naruto where everything syncs together, and it's, kind of prophesized type stuff where it's like, it's them going after this person or this thing, and it's the, it's all grand spectacle, even if it's like minor moments, unless it's a full-on filler. Even the minor stuff is obviously leading to the next giant thing, and this just doesn't feel that way. This just feels like, they're kind of just going along in the motions, and that's kind of it. So, that's just how it feels. I don't know why, but that's just how it feels, and nothing feels like it's leading into that next insanely grandiose thing. So, we'll just have to kind of see how it plays out. But like I said, we'll love to know what you guys thought about the, somewhat changing dynamic between Mitsuki and his friend, and, in general, what you guys thought about this episode. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.